I want you to stay with me. I want you to stay, don't leave. I want you to walk with me. I want you to walk with me. 'Cause I've been searching for so long to find someone to share my heart with, Lord. And I have taken you for granted, and I can't afford to lose you, my love. I want you to talk with me. I want you to talk, talk with me. I want you to stay with me. I want you to stay.
One, two. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
We're live once again for Between Sundays. It is Thursday night. You're here with Darien, Brister, J. Mars. Darien, as Paris fades. Take it away.
All right. Welcome back,
Welcome, y'all.
Between Sundays, we're in episode 16. Again, we're a platform where we offer perspectives of the modern church ministry operation and the many nuances therein from the lens of worship arts and multimedia personnel. So the nighttime is the right time this time around.
That's it. That's what they say.
All right, so if you've already joined us, please feel free to share. And we're looking forward to a great conversation tonight. As always, starting with some comments from previous episodes, and we actually ended with one of these comments from Mrs. Brister. All right, so it's kind of two parts, but they go together. So let me start here. It says, how do you address those willing to do more? They volunteer, are available to do more, and willing to do and learn more, but not given opportunities. Mm-hmm. And the second part is also, how do you handle when progressive ideas and solutions are given for better, but they go unanswered? Is that leadership's way of saying they don't want the ideas?
Yikes.
And this is one of those topics that have been muted in the church for generations.
Facts.
It has been muted, as in we don't talk about it. As in, that topic is Beelzebub. We dare not speak of it.
Yep. Mum's the word.
Well, we dare speak of it.
Mm-hmm.
So let me go back to the first part. First part was, how do you address those willing to do more? They volunteer, are available to do more, and willing to do and learn more, but not given opportunities. All right. So here's where I begin. I begin with the how cannot precede the why.
Mm-hmm.
The how cannot come in front of the why. Because the why is probably the best and most direct avenue to the how.
Mm-hmm.
So what do I mean? As opposed to how do you address it? I'm submitting we got to talk about, well, why is this the case? Why is it that when you have those willing to do more, they volunteer, are available to do more and willing to do and learn more, not given the opportunities? Why?
Mm-hmm.
That's, to me, that's where we got to start. And that's what goes unanswered.
Mm-hmm.
What goes unanswered is the why is that the case? So the first thing that comes to mind for me in the why, it points to the end result. It points to the, okay, we're not given the opportunity because the goal is not progression in that area. The goal is not progression. That's the first place I'm going when I ask the question, why would it be that willing and able people are not given the opportunities?
Right. That's true.
And again, willing and able. Willing and able.
Yeah.
And they're not given the opportunities. Well, that, to me, the first thing that comes to mind is, okay, apparently the opportunity to do more is not the goal.
Right.
So they're not looking for more to be done. They're not looking for progression. They're not looking for different.
Wow. Yeah. Right.
So, excuse me, we are going to get to the how. We got to talk a lot about the why. So, Jay, I guess for you, is there any other things that come to mind on what would be the cause of people willing and able not given opportunities, or do you just want to expand more on the the goal of not wanting progression?
Well, I think you nailed it on the head. With that, I'll say this. One of the reasons why I've noticed that those that are in leadership don't give opportunities to those that are willing and able is simply because there's fear of success in that area. A lot of times, success is more fearful than failure. A lot of times we talk about what if it doesn't work. We rarely talk about what if it does. And to a lot of people, they're afraid of if what was talked about and what was said and what was nominated was actually a good idea and works. Why? Because if it works, I now have to submit as a leader and say that your idea was good, but if I don't want to be looked at as inferior, my fear could be more intimidating than progression. And a lot of times, and I'm sure you've noticed this too, a bad idea will go for years before a good one takes place because of that same fear. We rather steep in what doesn't work And because we're steep in that in the idea of something that doesn't work, it brings us comfort. Because change is hard. Change is like it's almost like a rough grit sandpaper.
Yeah.
You can't do the same thing and expect change.
There you go.
But as you were saying a few weeks ago, like when something is the norm, you're now trying to change the norm. You want me to now become something different. You want me to evolve. You want me to do this metamorphosis when I've been comfortable as a worm.
Or as a caterpillar.
I'm sorry, as a caterpillar. I've been comfortable that way. So trying to bring me in this cocoon now and trying to make me evolve will be uncomfortable. Especially when there's already have been proof of that the comfort system is better for a lot of people. It's just not progression.
And let me add this alongside and throw this in the mixture. Okay. Even aside from let's put like evolving, let's put that concept aside for just a second. All right. But and then let's look at just the presence of something new. And the key word I want y'all to stay with me is the presence of something new.
Okay.
The reason why I'm saying the presence of something new is I want to be clear on not necessarily erasing or eradicating what already is.
Yeah.
But adding something to the mix. And what's interesting in our churches is when those that we are referring to are threatened, not even so much about necessarily changing what they do. They're also threatened by just adding something to the mix.
Right.
And what I believe the default perspective there is that adding something means that what's there has to be removed.
Wow.
And a lot of times that's not the case, but that's like the default feeling.
Yeah.
So we're going to stiff arm anything new, not because you're just adding it, but because we believe you're adding it with the intent of removing what we love.
Wow. Right. Yeah.
Not willing to have the conversation about, okay, I hear your idea. How does that coincide and coexist with some of the ways that we do things now?
Right.
Or some of the things that we're accustomed to. How do the two coincide? Can they coexist? But again, that question is rarely asked.
Right.
The assumption is taken that new means whatever we are doing is getting evicted. And I just believe that's a mindset that we really got to start moving away from.
Yeah.
We really got to start moving away from that. Anything new means what's here has to be evicted. Pels, you got any thoughts?
It's interesting that it made me think about a TV screen. What's going on, Patrice, Dave? When I think about a TV screen, I think about when flat screens first came out. And Dave Bell, says this, and it's a great thing. Change isn't welcome when it removes control from the insecure.
Yeah,
right?
That's good.
There's a security in even those who think change need to happen. And a lot of times it's always the next generation that'll be the starters or the frustrated current generation, or the next generation will be the ones that set off change needs to happen, right? Whether change deliberately happens or not, it eventually does happen, right? Time changes. Your bank account's going to change when the rents do, right? It's what you had. Either you're going to get more and have more to replace it, but there's a change of your car note that was in there. You paid it, and then you made money, and it went back in. So there's a change that happened to your numbers. That's why you look at your statement every month. You may keep the same bank. You may have had it for 20 years, but something changed in it. The way you do your banking has changed. The security that people just need to know is, back to the TV analogy, when it went from the floor model to hi-fi, whatever radio thing, and the floor model TV, once you start hanging them on the wall, the only thing that grandmama didn't want to know is, can I still watch my show?
There you go.
If you can assert to me, I can still watch my show. Now, how I get to my show might be different. We use a remote now, or we just tell Siri to do it, or whatever. But long as I can watch my show, I can deal with change, right? And then if my main character dies, well, that means that there has to be a change in the star of the show. Well, I have to deal with that change. Some people don't want to change the pastor, but then the pastor eventually dies, and you got to get another one. We don't want to change the musician. We don't want to change the worship leader, but eventually change is going to happen, and we can't control the change that's inevitable about to happen. And so my only thing that I wanted to give on that is, it's the way it's implemented. And all the time, everybody's not going to see that change needs to happen. I'll jump in on this and off because it's totally kind of left of this, but there's some good tension. I call it good tension arising in the awareness. And one of the things I pulled out and put in a comment on a post, as I said, once the pews start to get enlightened, the pulpit's going to have a problem.
That's right. That's good stuff.
The pews are being much more enlightened, and now the pews are asking the pulpit the question, and now you got a bunch of people in their feelings when this is what we do. Let every man give an account for the hope that's in them, especially those who are dividing the word of truth. And so that's my insert on what change happens, because if we argue change so much, we miss the point of the analogy I'm pointing out on something as simple as the television.
There you go.
And the show. Soap operas are still on. The method and how we watch it has changed. Movies was only in the theater. What has changed? We can watch the movie at home, but you're still making a movie. And you still need to watch it. And so Bad Boys 4 is coming out. I want to see the movie. When the first one came out, I was in the theater. When the new one come out, I may not be in the theater. That has changed. But the main thing is, can I get the message? Is what is really pushing at us. And so as it goes to the topic that we're on, and where we fight change, it's what Darien started off with. And I think your word, Darien, was the why. Yep, the why. Why are we fighting or arguing change? Sidebar, as I pass this back to the brothers, the handsome gentleman over his shoulders and the muscular man on the left. I'm messing with you. Ladies and gentlemen, I want y'all to shout out and put the love and the prayer in for my brother, Zach Williams.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Zach.
Victory.
It's not a big secret. You don't have to ask the questions why, but just go ahead and say, Lord, bless him in advance. And then as you find out why we said that, then you'll know. But we believe that God is a healer. So we thank God in advance. Good to see you, brother. All right. Take it away. Take it away.
So it's interesting, Pels, that you brought up the TV analogy. Patrice DeLisser, she said earlier, doesn't that come from individuals who have a limited scope on growth and development?
Yep.
That's absolutely true. This is what I find interesting. What I find interesting is those individuals have a limited scope on growth and development in selected areas.
Right there.
And that's where the TV analogy comes up. I've used this in other conversations, I've used the TV analogy in this way, pals. I say, I'm old enough to remember when you had to walk up to the TV to change the channel.
Yep.
Now, most TVs, you can't change the channel at the TV.
Right.
Yep. True.
I remember it.
I'm also old enough to remember and still drive a car that you have to put the key in the ignition and turn it. But many of these same people with a limited scope on growth and development drive cars that are push button starts. That's why I find it interesting that it is selective. It was easily embraced when we talked about the TV. None of these same people are using VHS.
Yep.
They're not.
You can't even find a VHS now.
Yeah.
They're not walking around from room to room with a phone.
They easily embraced growth and development in certain areas. And then in others, to what she said, it's absolutely right, where they got a limited scope and they happy with that scope. So I find that very, very interesting that, we as a people, when it comes to change, let's keep it there. Very simple. Change. We are naturally receptive in certain areas, and then obviously we're naturally very unreceptive in other areas. And I find that very, very, very interesting. Jay, I want to come your way with the second part of the comment, which is how do you handle when progressive ideas and solutions are given for better, but they go unanswered? Is that a leadership way of saying they don't want the ideas? I know you hit a little bit of it at the end of last week, but if you can just give us a little more of what your thoughts is there.
Well, here's the deal. Here's what I'll say about that. Growing up, my mother, as much as she wanted to give me, as much as she knew about finances and wealth, she loved me very much. She loves me, and she's still living, thank God. But she couldn't give me what she didn't know. She could not give me what she didn't have. She couldn't give me what she didn't have the capacity to handle herself. Anybody in leadership that you have went to with great ideas, and let me say something about this real quick before I go into it. Understand, one of those things about change is that it is a fact that time waits for no man. There come a day they will roll you down the aisle. And whatever is not done, not finished, not changed, doesn't even matter. Whoever comes behind you will change it.
Yeah.
Whether you want it changed or not. Isn't it better to see and advise the change rather than you die off and then the change happens without you? And sometimes it can be a catastrophe if it's not advised well. Most leaders, the Bible says that, write the vision, make it plain.
Yes, sir.
What's the rest of it? That they will run. It didn't say you.
Yeah.
So that means somebody has to see that vision beside you.
Yeah.
So if nobody sees that vision beside you, where you going?
You're not making it plain.
And right there. So if you have people that have great ideas and you don't have the capacity to see that idea through, or you don't even have the wisdom to say, listen, I like that idea. Since you've brought that idea to me, let's have you spearhead that, and I'll advise as much as I can.
Yeah.
And let's see where it goes. Why? Because it's going to happen anyway, with or without you.
Yeah.
It's going to, the change is inevitable for everybody, life and dead. It don't matter. Change will happen some kind of way.
Yeah.
So why not? Why not? While you're alive, and no, I'm speaking. Look,
No, we laughing.
And can make a
laughing
difference.
at Grandma B.
Oh, Grandma B, you. Oh Lord.
Just go ahead, stay on your point.
Okay,
Don't look.
okay.
Don't look. Just stay on your point. Don't even look. I'm trying to tell you, don't do it.
All right. I'm sorry. You can't tell somebody don't look because that's the first thing they gonna do. All right. So here's the thing. I'm gonna let you have it, D. If your leader doesn't have that insight,
I'm just giving some context.
Y'all see this?
I'm giving some
Now
context.
here's the thing. I'm gonna use this. Look. I'm gonna preach this word right quick, pals.
Sneaker preach.
If I didn't have some good old muscles, I can't pick this up no matter how much I try. But the Lord has given me strength. Listen, y'all. Listen. All right, we like to have.
That's the nighttime.
It's a nighttime, so you gotta forgive us. All right. So real quick, back to it. But I'm gonna sum it up. Honestly, God gave you people that are around you for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Honor those people by giving them a chance to show you why it will work, or show you why it won't.
Yeah.
That's just respect.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. As I said earlier, they can't give you what they don't have. That's something that has to be in them.
Mm-hmm.
That's something you have to pray that God will bless them to see.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're just going to be you're going to be upset. You're going to be frustrated because they can't see it. Go ahead, pal.
As we reset the room. Ladies and gentlemen, under the sound of my voice, I don't want to say weak because we're talking strong here. So I love what Jay and Darien is saying. I'm going to add a perspective here for us to think about, because the Lord literally like hit me with this as Jay was talking and unpacking this. I want you all to consider, and this is worth putting the replay. Something I learned in my years of pastoring about people that want change. There's what Jay is saying, the context of what he's saying in change, right? Then there's the not just older, but some people that's I shall not be moved folk that don't want any change. Yeah. And then, as he said, change is going to happen whether you like it or not. We've all threw that in there. Like Darien said about the television. You look up and then change happens. So here's the Keith Pell's sneaker preach that's going to mess y'all up. Let's use the analogy of change. You ever walk down the street and somebody that doesn't know you, you don't really have much connection with them. They need something, and in the context they're saying, this is wordplay here, they say, yo, can you spare some change? Mm-hmm. Now, when they say that, they're not saying, do you have change for? Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
They just say, do you have change? So in other words, it's only going to benefit them what they need you to give. They need you to give change, but their idea of change is how it benefits me for what I want that doesn't involve any benefit to you whatsoever. Then there's the next person that says, can I wash your window for some change?
Wow.
In other words, they're willing to do something that takes away from them, but it brings value to you. You can say no, But when you give change or change occurs, there is a transaction. And change from a biblical perspective deals with transactional movement, not what I want that I need you to get to see without some kind of currency. Watch this, currency. In other words, most of the time people that ask for change, they're not current seeing people, right? So they don't see what's in the current, or the people that reject change are also not currency people. So they've been stuck in their tenureship, so they can't see that change needs transaction to happen. And so you sometimes deal with parties that one side doesn't have any currency, but the other side, but they're asking for change. Well, if you coming to me and you don't have 100 and you want change, that means I've been devalued to support your change. But when change is necessary and value is added on both sides, is either there's a retainment of value, because if you ask me for change for your 100, I'm giving out 520s, but I'm gaining a solid 100 back. Are y'all seeing where I'm going? But if you're messed up or you need, right? Then the flip side of that with church folk and religion and or the scope of our faith is when I give. So you need, you don't have, and I give, that's not giving change. It's taking care of the situation where we don't value it and see that needed to change. No, it moved just like the television that Darien's talking about. It moved just like, the old sound system that we had. We needed to change. We have changed the way. Some things that do need change, we need to stop putting our phones out, recording every daggone thing.
No, bro, don't go there.
That's a change that most people ain't gonna talk about. Are y'all see what I'm saying? Because how can you worship if you the video person? I do this all day. So when we think about change, let's deal with what's the currency in the asking for change. And then when we think about change, let's look at how do both sides or both parties or the transactional piece of the change itself. So when the pew says to the pulpit about change, the pulpit will be able to see the value in the change. So to their point that they were saying, I'll bring them back on the screen, it's being able to see you're bringing about that change needs to happen. The leadership has to know, how does that affect me? And then you, as the person that's asking for change as well, need to see, how does this play out that it benefits the people of the kingdom of God? Because many times people that's saying stuff need to change, they're only the person on the street in my clothes that comes up to somebody they don't know, don't care about, ain't concerned about how you getting along, but they're just coming to you to say, hey, can I get some change?
Absolutely. Do me a favor, Pels. There's a comment by Eric Charles. Can you put that in your favorites?
Favorites?
Yeah.
Hold on to it.
We're going to come back to that.
Okay.
Now,
that's the one.
I want to come back to the why.
Thank
you.
All right.
I want to come back to the why and then work our way to the how. Okay. Because where I would start with approaching this issue and the issue that Eric Charles just mentioned, what I would start with is, okay, I'm approaching the leadership. If I'm the one, willing to do more, able to do more, I'm approaching the leadership requesting a conversation so that I can find out the why if I'm not afforded the opportunity to do more of what I'm able to do. So now we okay, give me some explanation. As I said, I think 2 weeks ago, give me some clarity. As someone who is here to serve, give me some clarity on what's going on.
Nice.
Give me some clarity on the direction. Give me some clarity on why it seems to me I am being turned away from the opportunity to serve, particularly in the area I have ability.
Right.
What is behind the decision here? What is behind the decision? And the reason being, again, I started with saying the how cannot precede the why.
Yeah.
Because if we are asking about the why and we don't really get a why, we either get they died you, or you get what I call the Bible mumbo jumbo.
There you go here.
Yeah. Yep.
That's a good one, Zach.
Right.
So but if I'm not, if I can't get clarity there, then there really is no how to address it. The real question from that why is, okay, what do I do next? You almost can't address the how you deal with that, knowing that they refuse to answer the why. Refusing to answer the why is it's basically telling you you're at a dead end. So the how to deal with it, there really is no how.
Maybe
There's
they don't
okay,
know.
where's my next step?
Maybe they don't know.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I don't know is clarity.
Right there.
I don't know is clarity. The only problem with I don't know is being willing to stay there. That's the only problem with I don't know.
Right.
Is when you're willing to stay there. Is when I don't know, I don't want to know. That's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just admitting you don't know, that's not a problem at all. That actually can be the catapult to the solution and finding out what you don't know. So the I don't know is clarity. We can't stay there.
Yeah. Yeah.
We cannot stay there. Now, let's just say, and I want to throw it back to you, Jay. Now, let's say you do get some clarity, whether it's I don't know or whether there is some type of explanation, okay? And what I want to do is, when we take this conversation a little further for maybe the next 10 or 15 minutes, I want to frame this inside of a music ministry context. So I want to frame this in the context with like a minister of music, maybe a lead musician and some choir directors. All right. And here is, let's say here is the example. The example may be, okay, a choir member approaches the minister of music and they say, for example, it seems to me that we're not utilizing the talent that we have. Seems like one or two people always get the lead songs.
Okay.
Right? I believe I have, or they say they believe they have that ability if someone can work with them. So I'd love to use this example in terms of maybe how to approach this in a very practical and illustrative way. Okay. So again, a choir member approaches the minister of music, says they don't believe that the talent that's there is being properly utilized. They would like the opportunity to be used more than just someone singing in the section. So now the question is, how does the minister of music approach that? And since we both sat in that seat, I want us to kind of, I guess, answer that just based on the information, because obviously it's not We don't have all of the meat on the bone.
Mm-hmm.
But if that was a situation that came to you in a minister of music role, how would your response be?
Well, I have had that situation happen, definitely, and I've watched that happen when I wasn't in that role as well. And I'm gonna start with what happened when I wasn't in that role, and I watched it happen to somebody else that was. The minister of music said to them, "Okay, I understand you want the role. However, you're not ready." Now, right there, that was open-ended.
Yeah.
That could be taken 1,000 different ways, but they left it right there and left the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So, me being the musical director, they next came to me. Well, how come such and such and such told me I'm not ready? Well, I can't speak for them and what they thought of you and why, but I would say this to them next time. The next time you come to them and you ask them, can you do this? Or how would they feel if you had more responsibility and opportunity? Well, you're not ready. Okay, is there a way where you could train me to be ready? Since you're the minister of music, is there a way where you could train me, which is what you're supposed to do? Is there a way you can train me on what I need to do? So that way, when the opportunity comes, I will be ready.
Yeah.
Because number one, as I told that young person, their success is not how well they play or sing. Their success is how well you perform when they're not there. What they leave behind.
Yeah.
Can you step in the gap and lead praise and worship when they're not there? And if they can't take you under the wing, and first of all, the fact that you're going to say you're not ready is insult to me. Is insulting. Now, I didn't tell this young person, but that's insulting because you're not there. You're not telling me anything.
No.
So if you're going to share that, okay, you're not ready. Well, what am I not ready with? What do I need to do to prepare?
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna tell you what happened when I was in that position.
Got you.
So there was a young lady who really could sing. And I told her, I said, okay, I'll help you out. This is what we'll do. And I took her in a room, sing her behind off. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. She could not do that. I don't need you to run. I need you just to sing do, re, mi. So you don't even understand fundamentals. So now I know what we need to work on.
Yeah.
I don't need you up there singing like that right now. What I need you to do is this good old hymn. That's what I need. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to work in this instance on this part. So I knew where she was weak at. And I what I did was I made sure that I focused on trying to strengthen that weakness and not turn her away. Why? Number one, she's a part of the church.
Yeah.
Why? It doesn't benefit me to lose people. If we all in the army of the Lord, who in the army wants to lose soldiers?
Yeah.
I need everybody I can get.
Yeah.
That's qualified now. That's a main point. She was qualified. She just needed training.
Yeah.
The same way with the other person that so-called was not ready. It's not that they wasn't ready. They just needed training.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to do your job as a minister of music, if a person is qualified, then you should be able to take your time and train them.
Yeah.
That's a part of your job.
Yeah.
I'm
No, you
I'm
good. So I purposely, because this type of thing happens throughout the church,
Mm-hmm.
but I purposely wanted to shift this to music ministry
Mm-hmm.
because, at least in my experience, this is where something like this gets the ugliest.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Wow.
in the music ministry. It gets the ugliest, and and there's fault on both sides.
Yes.
Yeah, some key words that you mentioned. The most recent one, turned away.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Turned away. And a lot of times we're turning people away by the refusal of the why.
Wow, bro.
A lot of times that's how we're turning people away, when we refuse to talk about the why.
Mm. Wow.
So that was the first key thing I pulled out of what you said.
Mm-hmm.
All of the explanation that you gave.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing I pulled out is when you talk about the person, okay, the first instance where the person was told they weren't ready,
Mm-hmm.
and they readdressed in two different instances. One, all right, is there a way that you can help me become ready?
Right.
Or two, what do you mean by I'm not ready?
Mm-hmm.
So again, this is going into the how, or really getting to the why.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to the why. Sometimes, okay, no. The one word short answers that don't give me clarity.
Mm.
Can you explain further?
Yes. Yeah.
Can you explain further? So that puts a little bit of onus on the willing person.
Yeah.
The volunteer that can do more. There's some persistency. There's a chase.
Mm-hmm.
There's a hunger.
There's a hunger, right? There's a hunger for that.
And even throwing that out there, that has some contingency on that particular person and where they are in their walk,
Mm-hmm.
where they are in their personal relationship with Christ.
Right.
That there's some contingency there.
Right.
But for those that do have a level of maturity, particularly in terms of wanting to do more and
Mm-hmm.
communicating their availability and their ableness, it's like, okay, you got to be persistent,
Right.
but don't give up so easily, and don't just accept the surface.
Yes. Yes.
And because that's where some conflict is gonna come.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't just accept the surface.
Right.
But now, if I can give a brief answer, and then Pels, you throw in any thoughts that you based on what you're hearing. If I can give a brief answer in terms of, okay, I'm in the minister of music role and someone approached me. So this is the first thing that comes to mind. The first thing, if they came straight to me, it would suggest that possibly they went to the choir director and didn't get an answer.
Mm.
Because again, in this quick format I gave, minister of music, lead musician, let's say MD,
right.
choir directors.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So any choir members should be going to their choir director first,
Mm-hmm.
not trying to beeline straight to the minister of music.
Right.
So that's the first thing I'm thinking about is, okay, there's a possibility that they went to the director with their idea, with their, I'm willing to do solos.
Right. Willing and available.
Yeah.
Right.
And they didn't get an answer there, or they got turned away.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, in our churches, sometimes that person, they didn't say nothing to the director.
Mm.
They beeline straight to the minister of music to try to get their agenda done.
Mm.
And I can't not talk about that.
Yeah.
So as the minister of music, my first question, did you talk to your director?
Mm. Wow.
That's my first question. In this structure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this something that you talk with your director about? Because again, if you have a choir director, what does that mean? That means more times than not, the choir director is the one that chooses the music, and then therefore chooses, or identifies who's the lead if there's a lead.
Right.
That in that structure, that's generally not the minister of music. Sometimes it is.
Right.
But generally, if you have a choir director, that choir director is who chooses the songs, particularly for their choir.
Right.
So yeah, that's the first thing I'm saying is, did you have this conversation with your director?
Yeah, with the director first.
And regardless of that answer, whether that's a yes or a no, for me as a minister of music in that position, I'm still going to have the conversation with the director, particularly if anything that they said, particularly in terms of when they said it's generally only 2 or 3 people that's leading. If any of that has merit, I'm still going to have the conversation with the director.
Right.
But it's not going to be a, you need to do this and you need to. No. This is what it's going to be. My question is going to be to them, okay, based on who you have, all right, do you feel like anyone that has not already had a lead has the capability of maybe leading a song?
Right.
Because I want to get from them their thumb on where everyone is or where the singers is in terms of their skill set. We know that not everybody has the skill set to hold that mic. Many singers just have the skill set of singing in a section.
Yeah.
That's the majority. Not everybody has that skill set of grabbing the mic and having that on their own, particularly when we talk about a lead. So I'm asking the director, okay, based on who you have, since you're working with them so much. But again, I'm doing all this again to get to the why. When we're not seeing movement, when we're not getting answers on suggestions. Last thing, and then I want you to jump in, Pels. The last thing that comes up a lot in the choir setting is choir members who they want to suggest specific songs to sing. That particularly in the Baptist church, that's going to be something that you're going to hear of if you're the minister of music, the choir director. People going to want to suggest songs.
Yep.
Which for me, that I got no problem with that. For me, the only issue I have is when they suggest songs and they've already made up in their mind that this suggestion is a good suggestion. You should use that suggestion and you should use it within the next couple of weeks.
Right.
When you've already made up in your mind the turnaround time, as if you are a director.
Right.
Yeah, that's when we got a problem.
They want you to stop everything.
And so when that turnaround time doesn't happen, and they get in their feelings because it's automatically the perception that, oh well, they don't take suggestions, they don't know good music, and they gonna try to do it all by themselves, and we ain't got no say so. Pels, you got any thoughts, man?
Well, I'm gonna stick with the comments, right? One of these, Zach, I'm just going to use this as a pivot point. What happens if you don't go to the directors, instead you talk to your circle? Then it gets back to the director, who is now uncomfortable because she's the constant topic of conversation. The confusion so this is the funny thing about what we've been discussing about tenureship, right? I've seen people accuse people of tenureship in their position, and Eric Charles put something up that's good too about the person that's been there for 30 years.
Yeah.
You can have a tenureship of a person, then you can have a tenureship of idea that the church suffers from.
Yep.
And in other words, there's the pastor that doesn't know and says, hey, here's the order. And you have to reinforce that.
Yeah.
Everybody go to Jay for all of this stuff. Then Jay's going to come to me and say, hey, I need a person in between me and the choir. And then I'm going to say, okay. And I'm going to trust Jay. And I'm going to say, that's now the order.
Yeah.
The reason why most of this kind of stuff happens, and what you guys were saying and what Zach says, is because leadership. I'm gonna say this, having been a pastor, leadership would know it, or in some cases, leadership acts like they know and don't know a daggone thing about it.
Yeah.
Or this whole circle piece and or fear, there's a choosing sides. And then it gets confusing, and then we don't hold order to things. Right? If you look at where everybody gets their whole deacon thing from in the Acts, and you look at the context of that, having studied that text, and it's like where we get that whole deacon stuff from, the apostles were like, yo, we got to get back to this. And y'all should be intelligent and wisdomatic enough to figure that out. Look amongst y'all, and by faith, I believe that there's somebody smart enough in the room over there that has shown evidence that they can fix that problem. Can I get back to my study now? Right?
Yeah.
A lot of times we don't have that kind of structure set up. So either there's the pastor that's trying to be the person in everything, or the leader that's trying to be the person in everything, and then the people that are doing it, we have this whole I can say this pissing match amongst ourselves.
Yep.
Because one thing that we didn't insert in the conversation is the family that joins the church, and their only purpose there is, I want everybody to know that my daughter can sing. And the daughter probably can sing dope, might even can get a record deal, but just don't really want it.
Yeah.
But now we have well, that's why we don't go to that church no more. I've run into many people that's like, oh yeah, I used to go there, this, that, and third, and I already know where it's at. You wanted your daughter on the praise team, and they was like, nah, we cool. And you're arguing that your child sings better, or your son or daughter plays an instrument better than somebody that's up there. That's not the arguable point.
Yeah.
But what this really comes back down to is, do we have a serving mindset?
Wow.
Because if we don't have a serving mindset, we actually show how limited we are.
Yeah.
My cousin Tremaine is doing sound at Bethel. He's a phenomenal organist, right? But the thing would be, somebody like him will say that whole, I'd rather be a doorkeeper mentality.
Yeah.
Meaning that if they get somebody suitable to run the system that he set up in there, he will find a tambourine and play that daggone thing.
Yep.
To the glory of God.
Yep.
Y'all hear what I'm saying? He will stand on a camera and just turn it for the service. And nobody will know he can play the organ and he can do sound.
Yep.
There are a lot of people that aren't like that. I'm like that. If it's only 3 instruments and I can't play one, I'm going to find something to do in the room because of how I am. So where's Keith getting at? It's really a lot to do with what's going on in the inside. If not, these kind of discussions will happen over and over again. And Zach, you're 100% right. Especially me from a Baptist church, I've seen this play out too many times.
Yeah.
And then in other denominations that I've experienced and noticed, it's the same type of thing. It just happens a different way. Oh, your anointing ain't right. Oh, you ain't got the Holy Ghost like the other person. And you're like, stop lying.
Yeah.
Stop lying. So, I mean, that's all the 2 cents I really have for it, Darren.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So let's to I guess put a bit of a bow on this. This is what I want to say. Put a bit of a bow on this, but Jay, if you got more thoughts, please share. Because again, I never want to not answer the question when a question is asked. So when we get to the how to address it, how to handle, those are the 2 questions. How to address and how to handle. All right. And for me, it centralizes around a constant conversation. A constant conversation. And if it gets to the point where the conversation ceases or it is muted, particularly from the leadership aspect, it is muted without valid explanation, then you probably need to reconsider where you're serving.
Wow.
You that's probably just the next course of action. But how you handle it is the conversation needs to be It needs to continue. It needs to be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be consistent because, again, the premise, particularly for those who are willing to do more, are able to do more. The premise for those who are bringing progressive ideas and solution is to achieve the same goal. Like Pell said, it's my grandmom can still see her show.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you had to change the channel at the TV, or whether you got to use the remote, she can still watch her stories.
Mm-hmm.
The goal was the same.
Yep.
Even though the methods and the approach may have to evolve, the goal is still the same.
Yeah.
And if the goal is the same, both laity and leadership, then there should not be any muting of the conversation.
Wow.
Right.
There should not be any muting of the conversation. Did you have any more thoughts, Jay, regarding those?
Just something quick. Also realize that when you do talk to leadership, understand that nothing happens overnight. And that's on the laity. Nothing happens overnight.
Realistic expectation.
Yeah. And what happens is, on the leadership, also understand that if you don't do anything, then nothing will change. As you said earlier, dude.
Yeah.
Not doing nothing, saying I don't know is an acceptable answer.
Yeah.
I love it.
But also, you pointed out, staying there is where it becomes an issue.
Yeah.
So laity, understand that when you do ask whoever you ask about it and address it, if they cannot answer you at the time, as D said, go to your choir director or your MD. There may be some other avenues to get what you're asking and some clarity on what you need to do. But understand, change does not happen overnight. But also, leaders, make sure that you understand you cannot stay in that same place.
There you go.
Change is inevitable. It will happen. With it, without you, it's better when it happens with your advisement.
Absolutely. And it's more than reasonable.
Yeah.
That even when a request or an idea is presented, and maybe it is a not now.
Yeah.
It is reasonable to ask leadership, okay, is there a timeline that we're looking for?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're telling me not now, that does not mean you're rejecting the idea.
Right.
That what you're saying to me is there are some other circumstances that may prevent it from being, something that can happen sooner than later. Okay, cool, acceptable. What do you think is the timeline that, even if it's not a timeline of implementation, maybe it's a timeline of revisiting the conversation.
Right.
And that's why I'm big on the conversation. Let me shout out some watchers. As we mentioned earlier, Patrice DeLisser, Eric Charles, as we mentioned earlier, Zach Williams, Jermaine Ringgold, Mom Dale Sharp Lee. I forgive me if I mispronounce this. Gideon Amtavi.
No, don't announce Gideon.
Got you. Antoine Robeson.
Gideon came asking for change.
Antoine. Got you. Antoine Robeson, Nick Hill, Mrs. Brister was with us. Who else we have? Pastor Edward Buster Fields, Aaron Bryant, as always, Dave Bell, Pastor Donald Rollerson, Linda Jackson, Sean Bobian. Thank you all for tuning in. So, I want to take the next. John Turner just came in. Thanks for tuning in. Happy birthday, sir.
Birthday, brother.
So now we actually get a chance to get to our series topic.
Yeah.
Financial awareness. All right. Last time we were able to get into some details. What we were talking about from the lens of a musical musical person, musician, singer. What we were talking about is some concepts around, being what it means to be a pro. And then even talked about, the concept of, what making a living musically might look like. Now, before I go into this, as someone whose musical journey started in the church, and that started more than 30 years ago, I would not highly recommend that you approach making a living solely off music.
Agreed.
I would not highly recommend it. I recommend, diversifying whatever skills and gifts you may have, or even, a passion that you might have. I would explore adding that to the mix versus just going at it musically. Is it possible? Absolutely. And I do want to talk about some of the different facets of music, because I think those of us, particularly musicians, who, again, your musical journey began in the church. I think many of us, either one, we lose sight of the many facets of music, or maybe, we've never looked down that lens or widened our gaze. And so, our gaze is mostly just surrounding either playing in church, or playing church/gospel music, and trying to generate as much income down that avenue only.
Right.
But I want to throw some things out there, particularly again for musicians, that maybe you haven't thought about in terms of, again, adding to your tool belt. Okay? Because obviously, church, particularly if, you have, a skill set and you've developed in your craft, that's absolutely one avenue. All right. But then there's other very adjacent avenues. All right. For instance, if you played in church, you probably have played for a funeral before.
Mm-hmm.
Have you thought about maybe talking to someone at the funeral home?
Mm-hmm.
At multiple funeral homes?
Exactly.
To see if maybe they have, a need or a spot that might yield some, some compensation.
Yep.
That's, again, very adjacent. All right. Something else that comes to mind: teaching. If you've developed particularly a skill set that other people notice as unique, as, what's the word I'm looking for? As something that, is enjoyable. Let's use that word. Then that would give you also the possibility of, people approaching you that are, let's say, curious about learning the instrument that you play, or one of the instruments that you play. So now that's another avenue that can yield some income. And here's the funny thing. Let me just run through these. Okay. So obviously we talked about church, brought up funeral home work. We just talked about teaching. All right. Wedding band.
Good one.
Music production.
Definitely.
Live sound. DJing.
Yeah.
Content creation.
Yep.
That's 8 things. That's 8 things. And there's more.
Yep.
But again, it's not tunnel vision to just, the Sunday morning envelope. Any thoughts, Jay?
Yeah. For this one,
I'd like to start at the beginning, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
Let me say this, very few situations is as lucrative as being a church musician.
Mhm.
What do you mean, Brother Jay? Sure, I'll break it down for you. In most services, even if you don't play well, in most 2-hour services, even a beginner on a Sunday morning can make an average of $300.
Interesting.
Now, that's $300 for 2 hours. That's almost a doctor type pay, $150 per hour. Now, I know we don't like to look at it that way.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
I've been saying that for a minute.
That's 100 and think about it, fellas and ladies. That's $150 per hour
That's
just to
minimum
play
wage. That's minimum wage.
on Sunday.
That's musician minimum wage.
Right. That's musician. Right.
knew what you meant.
Right. We know what you mean. Right. So when you look at it like that, it kind of puts it in perspective. Like, yo, we do kind of do pretty good. Now imagine if you did 3 services on Sunday at $300 per service. And that right there, my friends, is how you can work it in 1 week. Now, let me say this. Here's the issue with that. 95% of those brothers and sisters that can do that mess up. How, Brother Jay? I'll tell you.
How?
They mess up because at the end of the year, you don't pay your taxes. You don't even know about taxes. You don't even know a good accountant to take care of your taxes. You don't even know what you possess that will be able to cut some of the taxes for you. Some of the benefits of being a full-time musician. And you pay for what you don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately. How do you know? How do you know, Jay? I know because I was that guy. I remember not paying for almost 5 years until the government came. And they told the church that I was, all 3 of them, they told the church I was playing for, you cannot pay him another dime. Every check has to go to us. I owed $18,000. Let that sink in. $18,000 that I had to pay back to the government. Now, it's paid. And this was back when I was teens. But even then, I had to learn a real valuable lesson that I have to do something else besides just play. I have to know something.
Yeah.
I have to read books about what. Oh, Patrice, that's a whole different story. I can't even get on that. I don't have the capacity right now. I'll let D get on that one. So understand, yes, it can be lucrative if you know what you're doing. But a lot of times, most of us just do not. And we missed the boat. Let me also say this. If you're thinking of retiring from the church, being a musician, think again. Because at the end of the day, let's just say you do all 3 of those services, you will be tired out so much doing that every single week. For the next 10 years, you ain't gonna want to do that no more after a certain age. And most of us don't do well with money. Why? Because we wasn't taught how to manage money. We wasn't taught how to invest. This is why we're here.
to talk about why and how to not only invest wisely and talk about how to actually benefit from the money that you guys are making, whether it's a little or a lot, it doesn't matter. And if I had to say something of wisdom, the best wisdom I can give you guys, do not depend on any church to retire. That is not the answer.
So
Go ahead, Bill.
Go ahead. So I'm piggybacking on what Jay is saying. A couple things here. I just want to put this in here. What Jay was saying is, when we're not thinking ahead, it's a good hustle if you can get 3 churches to play at on a Sunday at a minimum of $300 per service. That's $900 a Sunday, right? We're not even going to go into the taxes part, or like Patrice said, or even tithing, because if you think tithing, whether you do or not, if you think it, you think taxes, right? So you're already at 20% or something more, whatever, right? Some kind of way, right? Or in your head, you're mentally like saying 25% of that, just don't even bank on it. Don't even add it in your budget. Just put it aside. Get it in escrow or something like that. Rabbi Lapin, Jewish rabbi, he teaches financial literacy, and he has a book called Business Secrets from the Bible. Catch what I said? Business Secrets from the Bible.
I like that.
And he literally breaks down things that we as believers can look at and see, and he explains how the terminology of Jew is a term as like a verb, right? So to be a Jew is like, oh, they Jewing me, right? So that means something stingy in that. But he breaks down the understanding of why there's a notion that Jewish people are stingy with money and or they see money differently. So think about this. If you as a musician see money a certain way, and he argued this point about making money, when you make it, you've earned it. You've given up something of a value of yourself, and your pricing is accordingly to your skill, right? It's called Business Secrets from the Bible, Rabbi Lapin. So here's the thing. I'm gonna give y'all this crazy. This rabbi says, and he was teaching about how we look at money, and he said, y'all gonna catch this point where I'm getting to. He said there was a young lady, and they needed him and his wife, they needed somebody to babysit their kids and watch them so that they can go out and have a good time. So they put a thing out to the neighborhood, and a young lady comes up, and they interviewed her, talked to her parents and all, showed her how to do everything in the house that needed to be done, and they didn't discuss price. They go out and they leave the girl there. They come back and he's like, oh, the dishes was done. The house cleaned up. The kids they had done been bathed. They in the bed, this, that, and third. And he said, okay, you did a great job. And he's like, I'm going to pay you. He said, how much? And the girl said, I mean, is $50 okay? And he said, he told her, absolutely not. Like, what are you talking about? And he said, the girl said, I'm so sorry. I apologize. And he's like, no. I need you to understand. I had $150 in my hand to give you. And he said, I need you to understand something. You just devalue yourself. And he said, I'm offended that you're only asking for $50 for all of that work. And so here's the point I'm getting at. If we kind of rewind and get into understanding your value, you kind of circumvent all the problems from up front, because at least you see your value. But here's the catch. You have to see how that value is added to that ministry. Because if that ministry just got 3 people and they paying you that money, I'm getting to Jay's point. Watch where I'm going, y'all. The issue now is you have not, like the stock market, took an insight on your investment. So if you build your budget off of that salary from that ministry, not looking at where that ministry is actually headed, and realize, and there's another whole text going on, post about theological debates and issues and stuff like that. And I said in that comment, when the pews start getting enlightened, the pulpits is going to have a problem, and the business mindset of most ministries is going to be like, J.C. Penney and Sears.
Mm.
Y'all see, I'm telling y'all, it's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming. And if we're running, and the musicians, here's my shout to the musicians. The musicians sitting there like, yo, I need this 300 this Sunday. I need this, I need that. But nobody's addressing this is a tanking stock.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I can't build, I'm going to what Darien's saying, I can't build my budget and lifestyle off of just this alone.
There you go.
What that does is that pulls us out of the economic ideology, right? And then seek first the kingdom into evangelismology,
Yeah.
which in seeking first the kingdom, and these things will be added to you.
Yeah.
And the gifts that God gives us is not compartmentalized into the sanctuary on one day. So then it goes into if musicians that are gifted are built better and expanded beyond the sanctuary, then technically my service to the sanctuary is literally a tithe.
Yeah.
Because I'm blown up out here.
Yeah.
I'm getting out here. I'm telling my value, they see it, and the world needs so much of it. I'm getting paid for it. So I don't have to demand it from ministry.
Yeah.
Are y'all see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
I don't have to demand it from ministry. And when I believe God will take care, that's when we will be together in a place that from the head to the balcony understands the value of what you bring to the ministry. And then the extras, our every Sunday is extra, not the necessity to survive.
Wow.
And then the word of retirement is not even in play because I don't retire from ministry. I'll move off to Oregon because I've trained somebody. Okay, I'm helping my sanctuary out.
Yeah.
I've poured into somebody.
Yeah.
And so I'm not, I'm retiring from this. No, I'm just stepping back because I'm still doing this. But it's time to give some room to somebody else.
Exactly.
And it ain't hurt me because I'm good over here. So if anything, I'm bringing more in than I'm taking away from.
Yeah.
And that's the goal.
Let me,
brother.
You brought up the word value, Pels.
Mm.
Let me position this
Yes, sir.
to my musician community. Let me position this. All right. Because in most of our churches, right, there are extra events at the church sometimes where, watch this, the services of someone who DJs might be needed.
I like it.
And let me give an example.
Go
and
ahead.
this is going to sound as Baptist as it comes.
Talk on it, bro.
sir.
But example would be like, okay, let's say the church decides to do something big for the last day of vacation Bible school. And they want to do it outside. And maybe they want to, be kind of community involved. So now, the musician that also is a competent DJ that is also has a good knowledge of live sound. How easy is it to replace that person? How easy is it to replace someone who brings value in a multifaceted way?
Wow.
Because if you only bring value in one way, that's a dime a dozen.
Yeah. You get anybody to play.
There's not a shortage of church musicians.
there's
There's
not.
just a shortage of musicians playing in church. Those are two different things.
I like it. You just
Yeah,
covered something,
yeah,
boy. You
fact.
just covered something.
Those are two very different things. So ask yourself, even from the church perspective, how easy is it to replace someone who brings more than just what they do in the service?
Yeah.
because that DJing example that even spreads beyond an extra event at service. That spreads to the membership, and if they have events where they need a DJ,
Yep.
so now you're not just someone that they see on Sunday, but they got interaction with you not only on Sunday, but even with some of the resources that you're able to provide that benefits them. That is currency.
Yep.
And I bring that up again just to illustrate why it's to your advantage not to just tunnel on playing.
Exactly.
I want to go back to that money thing real quick because you guys brought up some excellent points in terms of our community and how we see money. We're taught how to spend money.
Right there. Right there.
We're taught how to spend money and we're experts at it.
Yep.
We got PhDs at how to spend the money.
Don't. Wow. What you say?
But one of the principles I think we miss at an early age is how to give.
Exactly.
How to give. Because giving is what circles back around, not spending.
Yeah. That spells talked about earlier. Currency.
Yeah.
A flow.
Yeah. But we're because we're taught how to spend, and that's kind of the prevailing principle for most of us. That's the prevailing principle.
Yeah.
Then okay, for those of us who play in church, who have gotten really good, then we limit our approach to our craft based off of what we feel like we need to be able to spend.
Right. Exactly.
So we put our value in how much we want to spend.
And have you noticed, guys, that the frustration so there's two types of people. The person that's not trying to solve I want to be where I want to be, and I want to get paid what I want to get paid, and I want there to be peace in doing it. This is going to sound like it's one of them downloaded into your spirit.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm just saying this out of love and experience. If it's that much of a wrestle and you're trying to fix something that's already fallen apart, it's kind of like somebody telling you that the engine is rusted and the transmission is about to go, but you're arguing fixing the dent or replacing a carburetor. It's like, why? Like, that car is jacked. And the answer is, well, if you want to trade that in, but it's like the ministry that don't want change is like, well, I don't want a car note.
Yeah.
Or I want to buy and not lease.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like God made a way, but y'all refuse to change.
Yeah.
And you still sit in the car. It's like, yo, move on.
Yeah.
I see the help coming in when you understand your value, right? And then keeping in line with what Darien's saying here, and the guy's saying with the financial literacy, it's like, be a part of the team.
Right.
When you're don't be somewhere where you can't be a part of the team. And if you don't feel like you're a part of the team, consider moving on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because if not, and this, I'm speaking heavy for musicians in general.
Yeah.
We are important, ladies and gentlemen. We are important.
Yeah.
Binary, non-binary, whatever. I'm including everybody, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? We are important, and we can argue all of that, anointed, whatever, and the Old Testament stuff we want to bring up, and the gifted, whatever, Levites, whatever we want to use. I don't care. Use whatever term you want to use. we, especially in the black church, we love music.
Right.
We basically want music, and in some cases, I'm gonna say this is a strong word. We need it, right? But don't have yourself somewhere where you can't be part of the team.
Yeah.
Right, because it's discussions like these that keep going into, and then the lack of financial literacy. Don't be around a bunch of people that enjoy your gift, but don't care about your financial well-being as well. Like, you kind of know it's not healthy rather than complain what they're not doing. You already knew they're not doing it.
Yeah.
So you're not helping them by telling everybody else and exposing what they're not doing. Just look at it and say, this is not for me.
Yeah.
And then look at the value that you bring. How can I? It's almost like, this is going to sound crazy, y'all. Ask yourself, if you know you've been blessed and God has laid his hand on you, ask yourself when you go somewhere, what's the value I can add to them? Right? They're not even going to be able to pay me what I'm actually worth.
Yeah.
Like, let that sink in. You know your bottom line, but at the end of the day, praise be to God, everybody, if somebody come to me and be like, oh, the musician, I'm like, yo, dude, minimum wage is like $150 an hour.
Yeah.
I don't care if they sitting on a drums, bass, organ, whatever. It's considerable to say, unless they willing to take a price cut, I'm just, y'all can argue me with it, but I'm not going to vouch for nobody to pay somebody under $150 an hour for it. Yeah. We're just there now. You can't survive off of less than that.
Yeah.
Okay, and what we need and the way people dancing and stuff, the click track can't take all of that off. You got to add to the click track, so people got to work.
Absolutely.
So either consider, I'm going to get a 3-piece band, a 2-piece band. You can't have it all, Reverend. But musicians, ask yourself, what's the value I'm adding?
Yeah.
And then with the literacy mindset, don't put all the eggs in one basket of an income.
There you go.
You get what I'm saying, y'all?
There you go.
Yeah,
Because-
that's yeah. Go ahead, Darren.
Because the other facets raise your value.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
When you add the other facets, it raises your value. It raises your value. I want to challenge some musicians, and then Jay, I'm going to you for the last word. And I'm talking to particularly my organists and my keyboardists. All right, organists, those of us that play a Hammond, okay, and you've been playing a Hammond, and you got a good skill set, and you've been playing it 10 more years. All right. Question: have you learned how to solder a drawbar?
Right there.
You play that instrument twice a week. You spend more time with that instrument than anybody. Have you learned how to solder a drawbar? Have you pulled the pedal board out and learned how that is connected, so that maybe when a pedal sticks,
Or replace the tines.
you can either replace the times, or you can come up with a way to maybe hold you over. Maybe you wedge something that, keeps it working until the repairman gets there. Keyboardists, particularly those who have bought keyboards that cost $2,000 and $3,000. How much of that keyboard do you really know?
I know where you go. Oh,
How much of it do you really know?
oh boy.
Do you know functionality past just how to get to the different sound presets? Do you know functionality past just how to cut the release down?
Boy.
How much about the instrument you invested in do you really know? Jay, final thoughts.
Yeah, so to piggyback off what D was saying, we have to understand as musicians, there's a lot, like our value is, as Pelzer said, you can't pay you can't pay people's value. However,
you can show how invaluable you are by your serving.
By your serving.
And the way you serve, there's a lot of areas in the church. One of the most humbling things that I remember seeing, and I've done because I was somebody had an example of it, and I wanted to be like that, was cleaning the church. Walking around from pew to pew picking up paper. No, it wasn't my job. But it was something that needed to be done in order for the house of the Lord to stay clean. After about 2 weeks of that, the pastor came into the sanctuary. Brother Jay, sit down. Why? Why do you walk around picking up paper? We have janitors that do that.
Mm-hmm.
I said, Pastor, this is my church. I serve your people here.
Yeah.
Not just in music.
Mm.
I'm not above picking up paper. I'm not above taking out trash. I do that in my house. Why is my house better than God's?
Mm.
If I can do it in my house, guess what? I'm gonna make sure trash is picked up in God's house. Because I believe if I take care of God's house, he'll take care of mine. And I believe our value is shown in our service. And whether you do audio, whether you do video, whether you do content creation for the church, because most of us nowadays, we use programs like Logic and Pro Tools and Cubase and Innuendo, all them other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us can really work the church sound along with what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll find a way, if need be, to build value along with playing and or whatever instrument we play.
Yeah,
because we are more than that.
absolutely.
And this is why you have so many musicians that have graduated from their instrument to now the pulpit.
Mm-hmm.
Because now the value of service has now entered into their hearts to such a point to where the Lord has called them to something else, to something much stronger than just playing.
Yeah.
So it's not a problem being the doorman of the church. If whatever you do, whatever your hands find in the house of the Lord that is positive, do that. One thing I didn't know I was doing, one thing I didn't know I was able to do until I did it, I used to do the announcements.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling you about that.
Yeah.
I used to do the announcements. I recorded the announcements for the church. I didn't mind. I recorded the announcements to the church.
Yeah.
It wasn't part of my job. It was just something that I was able to do. And I realized, like, whoa, like, I'm really good at this. I done learned a whole new skill.
Yep.
That I can now bless somebody else with. So if all you do is play, go to church and get a check, God bless you. But be prepared, because most of the time they're going to treat you as you treat them.
There you go.
And if you are treated as a hireling, well, that's probably because that's what you act like.
That's what you give.
That's the vibe you get off.
Mm-hmm.
You give off because you go in, get your check and come out.
Yeah.
And that's not the type of musician or minstrel that I've always wanted to be. So I would tell y'all musicians, man, serve, not just in music. I'll ask the Lord to bless you to fulfill purpose in each ministry you go to, whether it's 2, whether it's 3, whether it's 1. Help you to fulfill the purpose that he has for you there. That's all I have to say.
Tough medicine sometimes, but you know, taking the medicine, applying it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it again, it makes you, or it positions you, to be an asset to the church that you serve
Mhm.
and to bring value
Yeah.
to that body. Carlos Brown,
Yeah.
Ernestine Draper, Kim Chantel, Rob Speaks, Julian Wormley, LB Mutchison, Dave Hunt on the YouTube side. Thank you all for tuning in. So next week we coming back to the financial awareness, but now we got to start talking about some of those intangibles.
Mm.
We got to start talking about the intangibles, the character, integrity, and those things that are also primary ingredients of being a pro. And again, raising your value not only for you, but to where you serve.
Yeah.
I'm D. Brister.
J. Mars.
Rev Juice.
It's good, y'all. Tune in next week as we slide into character. I'm just going to forewarn everybody. That is my area.
Oh boy.
It's the who you are without the instrument. Matters on who you are with the instrument.
Yes, sir.
Same thing goes for the pulpit. And that's the tension that's on the rise right now. It's exposing who we are without the I feel it and touch your neighbor. We just at the coffee shop. What's the evangelistical point? What's the conversation?
Yeah.
That matters.
Yeah.
And the whole piece about value. I have to give y'all this as we come to a close. Think of this. One more thing about this business secrets from the Bible. The idea of the Jewish culture has this thought pattern like this. There's a bass player that many of us know. I saw him put a post up and he built a closet. Well-known bass player on stage. Shout out to him. It was his birthday. I believe it's the same one. Bass players, I get them confused. But it's a carpenter and very good at it. There's others that we know them as the drummer, the keyboardist, whatever, but they might be a real good accountant. Now, here's the thing though. Why do I need to be, if and this is what a community would do, and here's where I'm going. Darien knows how to make good suits. I'm very good at landscaping, and Jay is a locksmith. Now, Jay can figure out how to sew a little bit, but that's not his actual skill set. Jay can cut his own grass, but I specialize in landscaping. So the thing is, that community says, what are you great at? And we'll lean on you, and we expect you to bring that to the table so that we can do what we're best at. In music ministry, what starts to get real confusing is a lot of times people are jumping in positions like, you're not really great at that. You can do it, but are you great at it? And we don't give room for it to happen so that everybody's at their best. It doesn't stop me from sewing together something. It doesn't stop Jay from running a lawnmower if he feels like cutting his new lawn at his new house in Delaware. It doesn't stop him from doing that. But one day he's gonna wake up and say, you know what? I'm a producer. And the reason why I don't have time to do production is because I'm trying to cut the grass when I can just hire the landscaping company across the street to do the grass. What we're not arguing is if Jay needs to learn how to cut the grass. It's like he actually can. But what's going to make the neighborhood better and the economic system of that neighborhood is great. If Darien is great with his sound company, then I don't need, watch this here, but the serving on Sunday is just a tithe of his gift. Yes, he's damn good at it, but it's actually, and I'm gonna challenge you on this, the thing that you think you're the greatest at, that might be the minimum part of who you really are.
Oh, that's
yes, sir.
So at this point, you end up seeing the bigger picture. And some of us are so blessed outside of the four walls that we don't even consider the argument of where we're devalued inside the four walls.
Yeah.
That's all I want to leave with us
Yes,
is in thinking, because this wall of plaques, it came from me knowing that I am great inside these four walls, but God has built me for something better outside of the four walls. So my history of serving is serving.
Yeah.
Because the bread came from without.
Yeah.
Not from within. The bread that I got from within was bread that the world can't give.
Mm-hmm.
And the bread that paid the bills came from outside of the four walls. The obligation of the church is not to make you rich.
Yep.
Obligation of the church is not to set you up for retirement. We are in the world, but we're not of the world. And so I say to musicians, in my experience too, do not compartmentalize yourself. Take the words that you heard Darien and Jay talk about earlier, about expanding, but never leaving where you've been expanded in salvation.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you tune in next week.
Absolutely.
All right. And follow up. Same time, regular time or night?
We're going back to afternoon next
Afternoon next week. It's afternoon. All right.
PM.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, two people need you to check out Meditations. Check out Dave Hunt and check out Jay Mars and check out their YouTubes. Remember, said it last week, these numbers need to go up. Subscribe to them, okay? If you have not subscribed to Between Sundays on YouTube, just hit the subscription button. Remember, you can just hit the subscribe and walk away. Don't tell me you're not on YouTube. Just go ahead and do it. And also feel free to follow me on Instagram as well and my photography movement. And that is a ministry too. Don't get fooled by it. I'm daggone good at photography, but that's a ministry. Let me shut my mouth up. Y'all pray Enon and Darien's strength, okay? We thank God for being a keeper and keeping them clothed and in their right mind. All right. If you know, then you know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we out.